My name is Giang Lê. I'm from the Ministry of Justice of Vietnam, the agency in charge of legal making and applies policy before we submit this to the government or National Assembly for passing. If you know that, raise your hand, put your hand up, put your hands up. Okay, a lot of people. And how many of you know about the underlying technology that supports Bitcoin? How many of you can explain the blockchain technology? And how many of you work in that industry? How many? Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. And I have quick summarized that almost people here already know about the blockchain technology, and now we go on the board. Yeah, this comes slowly. Yeah. Next. And today my presentation will include 5 parts. First, I will briefly introduce about the blockchain technology. The secondly is talking about its application. So third, I will talk about the obstacle in the road for blockchain technology and some problem lie ahead and recommendation. Now can you read it? Is blockchain technology so complicated for people to understand? No, not necessarily. And people not technical like me, can we use the blockchain technology and can we understand it? Absolutely, absolutely. And when this thing come from? This come from a white paper introduced by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008. In the paper, they introduce a peer-to-peer electronic card system, and with some characteristics, the network will not rely on any trust. They use a digital signature, and they use a proof of work. So the network is honest, independent, and the rule and incentive enforced is based on the consensus mechanism. And here I want to introduce you some
lawnmower for 5.2 bitcoins.
video
Bob's balance
clips
goes
that
up by
can
5.2
explain you
and Carol's
2
down by
minutes.
5.2. There's no gold or government-issued money backing these numbers. Bob is only willing to trade his real-life lawnmower for a higher number in this digital file because he has faith that other people will also trust the system. So who maintains this ledger and makes sure no one cheats? One goal of Bitcoin is to avoid any centralized control, so every participant maintains their own copy of the ledger. One surprising consequence of this is that everyone can see everyone else's balances, although the real system only uses account numbers and not names, so there's some level of anonymity. If everyone maintains their own ledger, how are all the ledgers kept in sync as money is transferred? At a basic level, when you want to send money, you simply tell everyone else by broadcasting a message with your account number, the receivers, and the amount. Everyone across the entire world then updates their ledger. As a quick aside, I'm describing how Bitcoin works for power users, people who help maintain the system. You can also just use the system to send and receive money, though, without maintaining a ledger. If sending money is as simple as creating a message with some account numbers, what's to stop a thief, Alice, from spending Bob's money by using his account number? Like a pen and paper check, Bitcoin requires a kind of signature to prove that the sender is the real owner of an account, but is based on math rather than handwriting. When a new account number is created, it comes along with a private key mathematically linked to that account number. If you've heard of a Bitcoin wallet, these keys are what it holds and are what allow you to create signatures. To create a signature, a private key and the text from a transaction are fed into a special cryptographic function. Another function allows other people to check the signature, making sure it was created by the account owner and that it applies to that specific transaction. Unlike the handwritten version, these signatures can't be copied and reused in the future, as they're unique to each transaction. While the mathematical signatures prove who sent a transaction, they can't prove when it was sent, and this turns out to be problematic. In our traditional banking system, if Alice wrote 2 checks but only had enough money to cover one of them, the bank would pay the first person attempting to cash his check but refuse the second because Alice's account would be empty. So the order of these checks is critical because it determines who should get paid. Unfortunately, order is much harder to determine in Bitcoin, where instead of a single bank, there are individuals all over the world. Network delays might cause transactions to arrive in different orders in different places, and fraudsters could lie about timestamps. Two recipients might both think their transaction is first and ship a product, effectively allowing Alice to spend money twice. Bitcoin prevents this by providing a way for the entire world to decide on transaction order. As new transactions are created, they go into a pool of pending transactions, and from here they'll be sorted into a giant chain that locks in their order. To select which transaction is next, a kind of mathematical lottery is held. Participants select a pending transaction of their choice and begin trying to solve a special problem that will link it to the end of the chain. The first person to find a solution wins and gets to have their transaction selected as next in the chain. So what's this linking problem? It's based on a special function called a cryptographic hash. As scary as this sounds, it just mixes up its inputs and spits out a number, but it's special because it's irreversible. There's no easy way to start with an output and then find an input that generates it other than by making lots of guesses. And this is literally what people are doing in Bitcoin, feeding this function random numbers until the output meets certain criteria. Besides a random guess, you also input a transaction from the pending pool and chain, which is where the linking part comes in. So the lottery provides a way for the entire world to decide which transaction is next, but the math behind it also helps ensure everyone agrees about past transactions too. Suppose you're joining the network for the first time and request a copy of the transaction chain to get caught up but receive several different versions. Which one should you trust? Ideally, you would trust the one that the majority of people are using, but determining this on the internet is difficult. What would stop a single person from voting millions of times? Bitcoin prevents this by requiring people to solve math problems to vote. This causes each vote to have a cost in computing power, making it unlikely that a single person or group could ever afford to...
It's not. I think it's go over 2 minutes. Actually, this is not the video clip I put in my presentation. Anyway, luckily for us, we can understand the blockchain technology in 2 minutes. And if people interested in the clip, contact me. I will send my clip. And now we know about the blockchain technology and how does this work. So now we see how the blockchain technology has been applying. The first and foremost important application for blockchain technology maybe lie into the Bitcoin cryptocurrency. You know, in this morning when I make this slide, there are more than 1,600 cryptocurrency, and the market cap is about more than 300 billion US dollar. And but now we see, can you see this charter behind? This charter shows a level of adoption of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency all over the world. And the axis shows the volume of the cryptocurrency trade in a country. And here we see that there is negative correlation between the quality of institution and the adoption of the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency all over the world. But the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is only application of blockchain technology. No, we see a lot of area and a lot of sector we can use blockchain technology to have: health sector, finance, register, RegTech, regulation technology, and many others. In my presentation, I will give you 4 examples of application of the blockchain technology. The first is agriculture. What's the problem of agriculture? It's the supply chain. Supply chain. And in the supply chain, the people from the farmer, trader, processor, they need to connect to each other to make the agriculture more benefits. But it's costly. And the second thing is when we buy the agricultural product, we care about the quality of the product. We care about whether the product is contaminated. And how blockchain can help. Blockchain can help reduce the fraud and contamination and increase the transparency in the production process. And the second thing is by apply the blockchain technologies, it will reduce the cost associated with establishing the supply chain for agriculture. Any challenge with the agricultural field? Absolutely. We need all the people participate in the supply chain. They have to know how to use blockchain. They have to install the application. And it's extremely hard for the agriculture because most of farmers, they are not well-educated people. They have limited capacity to access to the new technology. Now, let's see the digital identity concept. Why does this matter? You know that now, according to the World Bank report, now about 1.5 billion people, they don't have identity. Why the identity matter? Because if you don't have the identity, you cannot attend this event also. You cannot access to any financial, you cannot register for the property, and that problem. And how the blockchain solution will help? They will increase the efficiency, reduce the cost, and increase the transparency and fraud reduction. Because all the data in the blockchain is immutable, so people cannot fraudulently change the data. And people, all the people participate in the system. They use the same way of manage data, the same way of access data, and it will reduce the cost of maintaining the system or the service. But it also has some challenge. The first is the right to be forgotten. What is the problem? Because if we use the blockchain system and we put all our data in the system, all this will be digitalized. Unlikely the paper, we have right to forget it. We can come to some register agency to ask them to give us our registry. But with the blockchain, it's very hard. It's very hard to do that. And we also need the actual user participate in the system. Because if the system with only few people, it doesn't work. It's not economically. And another field is energy, climate, and environmental context. It seems so weird when people talk about blockchain can have energy, blockchain can have climate or environment context, but it is. And what is the problem with this field? This field is known for inefficiency. Many companies operate in highly regulated environment. And when you operate in a highly regulated environment, this means you have to spend a lot of transaction costs to do the business. And you know that according to a report by World Bank, only 85% of the people in the world they have right to access to the energy and electricity, but not all the electricity and the energy is clean and reliable, and many of them don't afford to use energy or electricity. And how the blockchain solution can help? Because the people who maintain the utility system in our current status is centralized, and we have to use a third party to measure the amount of energy we use. We have to use another to collect the fee or the price the customer have to pay for us, and it's costly. But is any challenge with this field? There are some, because from the consumer perspective, the quality and quantity of consumer data is still low, and in rural area, especially in the developing country, many people they don't have the smartphone to access into the system if the system built on the blockchain. And this very interesting field, financial inclusion context. Do you know that 2 billion people in the world is unbanked? It means around 25% of population in the world, they are unbanked. Why? Because the fee for access to the financial is high, and they have limited capacity to pay for the fee. And many banks, many financial agencies, they cannot provide the service to the people from the rural area because the transaction fee for those business is really high and it's not economically. So they don't do that. And another problem comes from the lack of digital identity and the lack of property registration. In the developing countries, the ownership of property is very important because it's a tool for the people they can make the mortgage to access to the financial from the bank. And how blockchain solution can help? They eliminate the need for the trusted party like bank, escrow, law firm to verify own transaction. And another thing is that all the transaction is processed in real time. That also help reduce the transaction cost. So, is any challenge with this field? Complexity of the technology, little incentive to adopt the technology because in the current system, some players, they still have the high profit from the operation, so they don't want to change, and they resist to change. And speed also a problem because many blockchain applications, they say that the transaction is very high in real time, but in the developed country, it's not always true. Once many services provided by the blockchain application still slower than the traditional service, and in the developing country, this may be the same case. From the 4K study, I have some key findings. The first is application of blockchain is still on the early day. We need more application, more user, more service to be operated, to be used by people to test whether in reality this application meets the theory. The second thing is, yes, it is blockchain can provide some solutions that were not available for the people. And the fourth conclusion is some sector will draw more attention from the developer. For example, people now about more than 25% of applications in blockchain technology, they focus on the financial inclusion. Any obstacle in the road ahead for blockchain? Yes. I point out about 7 problems. First is security and cost trade-off. Bitcoin is the typical network that's purely decentralized, but all the transaction is very reliable. But we need people to build the foundation, and it's costly. But the cost is not allowed to the people who participate in the system, and it's a problem. This is a problem. And the second thing that, do you need a blockchain? Yes, blockchain is very promisingly, but not people need the blockchain. Before you come into use blockchain, you have to answer 2 questions. To come for the 4 conclusions. Does the business require database? You need to sell the asset. You have underwriter who interact, and you have the problem with the trust. If you have the problem with the trust, blockchain may be the solution. And the third is critical mass essential. Now we see a lot of foundation in blockchain industry, and it's fragmented. And the second thing is institutional and social inertia to transaction and agree on the platform, many platforms. The fourth is quality of data. The system not guarantees the truth of data. It's very much depend on how you input the data in system. The fifth is the addition of the new user to the system. Absolutely, when we develop application, we need more user. And when we have more user, this means we have some problem with the hackable because the node is added. And some other problem, like you have to see it to believe it, how the identity problem is solved, because when you participate in the system, the identity is problem. Oh, what life has prototype and production file. I want to cite a quotation from the McDonald co-founder. They say that 2018 is the year for production and it's the year for implementation. It means we hear a lot of hype, a lot of marketing and PR activity so far, but now we need the actual application and we need the actual user to see where this will work as this ground in theory and represent big problem. Now many investors, many business, they get confused when they do business or they provide a new service because the uncertainty of the legal system. But now the good news is the government all over the world, they are in scrutinized to know how to make a regulation, the appropriate one, not to stifle the technology. And the diversification landscape. Actually, blockchain technology is not solution itself. It's a tool for the people to apply to solve the problem. And I have some recommendation for processor. But before see the way ahead for Vietnam blockchain industry, I make some brief about the Vietnam. Vietnam is compared to other countries with very high GDP per capita. Vietnam have a very high score in math examination. And we have a very stable and high economic growth rate. Always remain about from the 6 to 7% since 2006 to 2017. And the population is here about 80 million people. It's explore opportunity for the blockchain development in Vietnam. And for the business, how do you do? So you guys should be proactive, not reactive. Firstly, you have to get educators. When you see a new technology, you have to study, you have to know about it, and you have to answer the question, why do you need this technology? What the business and product will look like if you use this technology? What will happen if the value of the company will be distributed in the network and the value will be distributed to the people? And we will use guys to start from the small before you expand it. Not all the operation or business of the company should be applied the blockchain technology. You should start from the thing you think that is the most appropriate and identity and seize the opportunity to build our foundation. And how the government do for the policy maker? It's funny slide. How do you think about the policy? They want to punish you? They want to stifle the business? No, it's not the case. So for the policymakers should give technology a space to develop. And admittedly, in very first state of technology innovation or revolution, so many things is ambiguous. But the government have to understand, have to study the ambiguity before they make any regulation that will stifle the application of technology. And the second thing, the government identifies some priority sector, priority field, to provide some incentive, can be subsidy, type, recruit the foreign labor if you need it, import the technology, and the government also need to be very innovative. So many services provided by the government can be applied blockchain technology. It will improve the accountability, and the government will build a better image in the people, in the constituent. And the fifth is what is the expectation from the business community when you participate in the blockchain development? Any expectation from you guys? Regulation, okay. All people tell about the regulation, and it's good news that now Vietnam, the Prime Minister and government, we are build a developmental state, and we try to exploit the application, the achievement of the technological revolution 4.0. And blockchain is one of the principal technologies that have a lot of attention from the government. And that is the way from my perspective for the blockchain industry for Vietnam. Thank you for attention.